Hello and welcome to this week's Out of Control. Let's have a quick look at the sort of action that you're going to see on this week's programme. We have the unusual story of what happened after Stephen Finlay rolled his Escort Cosworth in Scotland a few years ago. You've seen this before, but what actually happened? And when rally cars get angry, the crews bite back. But of course we start in Finland, the home of some of the world's best and some of the world's worst rally drivers. It must be the desire to emulate some of the most famous rally drivers that there has ever been that pushes these chaps to drive so hard. Most of the time, they really are over the limit and out of control, and it's only a question of when the accident happens rather than if. Usually, it's not such a difficult task to get a car out of a ditch and on its way again, but this one doesn't want to know. Maybe the car has had enough and wants to stay where it is. Maybe it's sulking. Whatever, it's doing its best not to move. But eventually, it's out and on its way again. No damage done, but plenty of time lost. Some of these drivers possess the skill of a 17-year-old having his first driving lesson. But some are even worse than that. You can almost hear the co-driver saying, "It's a fast left, into 90 right, into ditch." And these crews are quite unlucky here, because there's either not a lot of spectators about, or they're all suffering with a peculiar form of lethargy on this day. A sort of, I can't be arsed situation. One by one they come, each one with his own different way of tackling the bend. All different, but all wrong. Take this Audi for example. You may have seen this crash before, as it's used in the opening sequence to a programme on Sky Sports. But what actually happened?
Tell you what, mate, you look alright. Yeah. Christ.
The event was the Dubai Rally in 1995, part of the Middle East Championship. The Land Rover simply hit a bump, and the back end literally overtook the front end as the car somersaulted right over the cameraman who had thrown himself onto the floor. The camera itself was destroyed, as was the Land Rover. Extraordinarily, the only injuries were a slight cut to the head of the co-driver.
Picture of fame.
Always checking roll bar.
And the crew still had the presence of mind to slow down some of the following crews so that they didn't make the same mistake. It's incredible that anybody got out of that, isn't it? Including the cameraman. So let's calm things down just a little bit. It's a fact that motorsport is dangerous, and there's no getting away from that. And that's why whenever I'm filming, and whenever people are filming for me, I always stress that there is no point whatsoever in compromising their own safety just to get a better shot. Some people do, and that's their choice. But if it's safe to stand on the outside, then we'll stand on the outside. And if it's not, we'll stand on the inside. After all, as we just saw, a rally car does tend to travel faster than we can run. This is the Pirelli Rally in 1996. The car is a Malcolm Wilson Motorsport prepared Escort Cosworth, being driven by Alistair McRae. Alistair was fantastic in this car and went on to win the event. In the same car, Stephen Findlay won the Circuit of Ireland Rally. So when Stephen entered the Weldex in it, the team and car were looking for a hat-trick of wins. They didn't get it. Expecting a tough battle on the event, Andy Horn was probably a bit surprised to pass a somewhat forlorn Findlay standing at the side of the stage beside his upturned car. Amazingly, with only a few spectators around, the crew managed to get it back on its wheels again, while the other competitors just got on with their own rally. With one or two nearly joining Findlay. Findlay's co-driver tries to slow down some of the following crews, but with a blown turbo, these two have enough to worry about anyway. And others have things to occupy them as well. Remember, we saw this fully committed driver some weeks ago. Well, he's still giving his co-driver a bit of a fright. There's little doubt that he is that accident that's looking for somewhere to happen. In the meantime, Malcolm Wilson has made it to the scene himself, along with several of his management team. This is as close as it gets to a major disaster, with Paul Crossan's rolling Astra missing everyone by inches. Back down the road, people are still creating their own excitement. By now, Malcolm Wilson has decided that he wants this car out of the way, so he climbs into it himself to try and get it out of the mess. Then he drives it back onto the stage. Slightly in the wrong direction, it has to be said, but then continues back up the stage for a couple of 100 yards where he safely parks it up. That's all a bit bizarre really, isn't it? And the sad thing is, I can't remember whether or not Finley continued after that, because that would be really weird, wouldn't it? Two people driving the same car on the same rally.
I suppose if Finley did get going again and won the rally, it'd be Stephen Finley and Malcolm Wilson who'd won the event. Anyway, join us again after the break. Hello again. Let's get straight off to Finland for some more of the sort of action that they seem to specialise in.
So let's have a look at the corners where the Finns are going to entertain us at today, shall we? As ever, it's a smooth gravel road, nothing exceptional, with a nice 90 left, followed a couple of 100 yards later by an equally nice downhill 90 right. So let's see what sort of a mess they can make of this. As usual with the Finns, it all tends to start very calmly, with just a few harmless spins. But as our experiences over the past several weeks have shown, it's as we move down the field that the drivers often mistake confidence for competence, and it's when ambition overtakes ability that the problems really start. These spectators seem suitably unimpressed. Possibly the Finnish driver's biggest problem is that he has got so much to live up to. Drivers like Timo Mäkinen, Hannu Mikkola, Ari Vatanen, Juha Kankkunen, Tommi Mäkinen and now Marcus Gronholm have all been this way before. And there are so many good drivers waiting in the wings who will never make it. No wonder these guys feel under so much pressure to perform, and no wonder they don't always get it right. And of course, where a normal person having had a roll like this might want to go off somewhere quiet and have a quick cry to themselves, and possibly a rub down with a wet magazine, these guys have got to take it on the chin, get the car back on its wheels again and get on with it, being urged on by the rabid fans. All in all, he's just another prick in the wall. Now remember what I was just saying before about trying to live up to his illustrious ancestors. This guy is seated at number 200, and he's driving a car decked out in the Rothmans Escort colours of Harry Vatanen, and he thinks he can drive like him. But he thinks wrongly. He's trying to make a name for himself. Maybe he should be called Bent Axle, but let's hope it's more pronounceable than the one he's already got. Perhaps if he leaves it there, he can get a park and ride into town.
Well, let's go straight from the sort of crazy action that we see in Finland to the sort of crazy action that we see on the rallycross circuits.
Now that's what you call getting close to the action. It's an odd world and no mistake that amongst all the rubbish that's on television, that a sport like rallycross doesn't get more television coverage. It's fast, spectacular, and the drivers, as we know, are always competitive. Now then, did he fall or was he pushed? Let's ask virtual commentator.
Now that's a bit ooh-ah cantina, really, isn't it? Did he or didn't he? To be or not to be? That is the question. And to be honest, I haven't got a clue.
Well, that's one thing that we can agree upon there, virtual. And here's another late entry for a Let's Scare a Cameraman competition. And here's another few cases of drivers tipping themselves up with no help from a following competitor. Firstly, it's a Vauxhall Nova. Now there's a surprise. And secondly, a Mini. And I think that we've seen this car on its roof before, haven't we? And this is a bit unusual. The Mini and the Fiesta are having their own dice at the front of the field, running along South Bank at Brands Hatch, and then whoosh! This chap decides that he wants to be in the lead himself, but takes himself right out of the race. I can only presume that his throttle stuck open, to be honest, as surely no one would try and overtake from that far back. What do you think, Virtual?
Eh? Oh, what? Eh? Yes, well, I'm glad you asked me that, actually, because as you can see, what was the question?
Yeah, thanks, mate.
My pleasure.
Of course, the wet brings even more excitement to the rallycross circuits. Cars set up wrongly, wrong tyres, people who can't drive. It all adds up to the sort of fun that you'd only normally see as people try to get out of the car parks at Silverstone after a wet Grand Prix meeting. And of course, once you're on wet grass, there's simply nothing you can do. You just have to sit there and wait for the bang.
This rather hectic one, the sandwich on the door.
And we'll finish off this week's show with all sorts of crazy goings on.
No matter how good a driver you are, you'll never be successful if your co-driver has his head on sideways. Now this is very nearly the right way to go around a wet hairpin bend. And then this is the wrong way. finally, if your car lets you down unexpectedly, don't give up. Just jump out and push it.
And now for the top 10.
Until John G has the misfortune to complete.
Well, thanks for watching this week's show. I hope you join us again next week.